Hello everyone and welcome back to Mariana Mas Books. My name is Mariana and today I am here with the book acquiring tag, which was created by Enter the Book, and I was tagged by Susan at Road Reads. Thank you so much, Susan, for the tag. I am doing something I have never done before, which is I haven't planned this video at all. I'm just going to go through the questions and answer off the top of my head. As you know, English is not my first language, so I hope it's not too rambly. I can always edit all of the rambliness out, but I'm going to try to make this as edit free as possible. But yeah, so without further ado, let's start with the questions. Question number 1 says, do you plan your book purchases ahead or impulse buy? And as everything in life, it depends. If I am shopping online for physical books, then I most likely planned ahead. If I am shopping in a bookstore, I am most likely impulse buying. Both. I most likely am there looking for a book that I planned, but also I will end up with a book that I impulse buy if I'm in a physical bookstore. And if I am shopping for ebooks, I would say I don't plan ahead as much, but also I wouldn't say I impulse buy. Which leads me to the second question that says, how do you decide what books to buy? So here's the thing. I am a very organized person. That's not true. It is, kind of. I am organized in certain things and not organized in others. But I enjoy spreadsheets, I enjoy planners, I enjoy lists, that type of thing. So I have very, very organized wish lists. There was a time where I just added books to my Goodreads want to read. And I realized that that wasn't very effective because you just have an endless list and you keep adding and adding and adding. And so you never look back once you have like 25 pages and you have to go back, and you don't go back and you just pick from the latest books that you added and you forget the ones that you added first. And so when I realized that wasn't a great system, what I did instead was that I created a system to organize my wish lists. It's not a fancy or sophisticated system by any means. Most of my shopping I do online on Amazon. Please don't come for me. I live in Mexico and I read mostly in English, so most of the books that I want to read come from the US. And in terms of, economically, it makes sense to me. It's the most sensible option for me because shipping is crazy internationally unless you have Amazon Prime, and I can't really shop locally because most of the books that I want to read are not carried in local bookstores unless they are translated, in which case I would have to wait for them to get translated. And also, if I'm reading a book that's in English, I like to read it in English if it's its original language. But that I went on a tangent there. But what was I saying? What was the question? See, this is what happens when you don't plan. Oh yeah, my wish list. I remember. So what I did was I have wish list by genre on Amazon. So I have a fantasy wish list, I have a romance wish list, a non-fiction wish list, a memoir wish list, biography wish list, which I realized that memoir and biography is nonfiction, but the nonfiction wish list was getting crazy, so I had to do categories for that as well. I have a poetry wish list, I have a speculative fiction wish list, which includes things that are other than fantasy, historical fiction. I have a lot of wish lists, and so whenever I see a book that I want to read, I add it to the specific wish list, depending on the genre. And I also have a wish list that's called I want, and the year that we are currently on. So I want 2022, and those are the books that I most want in physical form. And so whenever I'm in the mood for, let's say I finished a book I was reading and I want to read something else, and I go to my bookshelves and I'm like, yeah, no, nothing is, I'm not feeling any of this, and I want to get a new book, then I would go to my wish lists and be like, oh, I'm in the mood for fantasy, and so I would go into my fantasy wish list and see which books I have there and buy it on Kindle. If the book I want is in physical form, then I add it to my I want wish list, but I don't buy those as often because they are more expensive. There was a time before Amazon Prime where you had to reach a certain amount of dollars and then you could get free shipping. I don't remember how many dollars it was, but if you gathered that amount, then you got free shipping. And so I got used to accumulating in order to get the free shipping. So I would have my wish list, and I don't know, my mom, my sister, and so whenever I was going to do what's it called? Whenever I was going to buy some books online, I would ask in my house, oh hey, I'm going to an order. I'm going to place an order. That was the word I was looking for. I'm going to place an order for some books. Does anyone want some books? And so we would, if I couldn't reach the amount of dollars necessary for the free shipping, maybe my sister wanted something else and my dad wanted something, and so we would accumulate and then we would place an order together and then we would get free shipping. And now that Amazon Prime exists, that's not a thing anymore, but I feel like I got used to that. So even though I can technically buy whatever book I want and get free shipping at any moment, I still have that that chip in my head that tells me that if I'm going to place an order for physical books, then it has to be not just one, but at least like 3 or 4 books that I want to get. And so I wait because I'm not going to be buying 3 or 4 books every week. And so I have a wish list of physical books that I want to buy physically. And I wait until I have like, I don't know, until I'm like, yeah, I feel like I can buy 3 or 4 books at the moment based on my budget or whatever, and so then I would place an order for the physical books. With the ebooks is different, and actually this is a question that Elle from Elle Thinks asked me, if ebooks were the same way than physical books, and no, ebooks I think differently about, because I use this feature that Kindle has where you can download a free sample of a book before you decide to buy it. So I never ever buy a book before I read the sample. I always, even when they are authored, I don't know why I do this, but even, for example, the Side Changeling series, I know I'm going to love it. I love it. It's my favorite. I love Nalini Singh. She is a guarantee for me. I don't know why I do this, but whenever I'm going to read the next installment of the series, I download the free sample, read the free sample, and then when I reach the limit and it says, hey, if you want to keep reading, you have to buy, then I click buy and buy it. And I do this for every book that I read on Kindle, which is most of the books that I read. I do most of my reading on my Kindle. And also something else that changes is that I feel like with physical books, you get this sense of I have to buy it because what if it goes out of print? Or like Amazon stops carrying the book for some reason, or I can't find it anymore, or I don't know, they changed the cover and I like this one. So there's this sense of urgency of like I have to get that physical book. And so that's why books stay in your bookshelves for ages, because you buy them because you have that sense of urgency, but then you don't read them immediately, and then they stay there because you keep buying things and you can't possibly read all of the things at the same time. With Kindle books it's different because I feel like they are on the internet and they're there, and the internet is not going to go out of print, and so I can buy the book whenever I want. And so there isn't this sense of urgency, and so I don't mind waiting. I add it to my wish list and I know it's there and I know it's available on Kindle and I know I can get it whenever I'm going to read it. So physical books I buy in bulk. I mean bulk 3 or 4. So I don't read them immediately. But Kindle books I buy them as I go. So I read it, I finish it, and then I buy another one, and then I read it. The only books on my Kindle I have unread are the ones that I've pre-ordered, and that's why I don't pre-order a lot anymore, because that always happens to me. When I pre-order a book, it stays there and I don't read it. So I prefer to that with Kindle, that I just I buy as I read. Question number 3. What is your philosophy on where you shop? Online, in person, large versus small, physical, digital, audio, new versus used, etc. I think I answered that question in my previous questions. The only thing that I didn't answer was new versus used, and always new. Not because I don't like used books, but because here in Mexico we don't really have that culture of used bookstores. We do have some used bookstores, but it's mostly like textbooks or more academic stuff, and there aren't so many, and they aren't so popular. They are more for like students who want to buy a textbook. You won't go into a bookstore, a used bookstore, and find novels and stuff like you do in the US. Whenever I see videos of like used bookstores, and yeah, we don't have that here. We don't have that here. So no, used. I mean, new is what I have available. Question number 4. What about little free libraries? What do you think of them? Have you used one? Why or why not? I absolutely love them when I see them in videos or online, because they don't exist in Mexico. Little free libraries. What a concept. What a concept. Yeah, no, that doesn't exist here. Question number 5. How do you feel about acquiring a book? Do you share, like in a book haul or diary? Well, I share. Most likely I'll share on my Instagram stories. So most likely I will share there because I love sharing when I buy new books. As for book hauls in this channel, I filmed one a couple of months ago, maybe. And if you saw it, you know how much I hated filming it. Mostly because it's so difficult to film. I don't have a problem with book hauls. I love watching them and I love the idea of them. I honestly, the book haul haters make me roll my eyes. I'm like, oh my god, just let people enjoy whatever they want to enjoy. Let them post their book hauls and let them share their books and let us watch it if we want to. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Number 6. How do you feel looking at your books that haven't been read? Does it matter if it's currently a lot or a little amount? No, it doesn't matter. I have a more Marie Kondo type of approach where if it brings me joy, then I like it. And my books bring me joy. So I don't mind. I don't know. It feels more like, ooh, I have all of these options of things to read more than a chore. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's financially irresponsible of me, and maybe it's I don't know, humanly irresponsible of me in a global warming world not to be so worried about all of the unread books that I have. But I'm really not that worried. Yeah, I'm sorry. Question number 7. How do you decide what number of unread books is the right amount? I don't. I don't know how many books I own, and I don't know how many of those are read and how many of those are unread. And I don't think there's like a magic number of like I want to read X, I want to have X amount of unread books or read books. I honestly have no idea. Question number 8. Do you have a TBR game or process for reading them? I don't have a TBR game. I do mostly, I give myself more like parameters or prompts. So like maybe I'll say, I don't know, I want to read a fantasy book and a non-fiction book in the month. And then I just read one of those. If I do, sometimes I ignore my list completely. But a lot of times I don't read from my bookshelves or the books I own. A lot of times I just buy more. And then next question is, do you have a book buying problem? If so, what is the nature of it and can it be adjusted? I don't think I have a book buying problem. I really honestly don't buy that many books. I know it sounds like I do from my answers, but I honestly don't buy that many. Kindle books, I buy maybe 2 or 3 a month, but because I read them, the ones that I buy. And a lot of the Kindle reading that I do is from Kindle Unlimited, so a lot of the Kindle books I don't even buy. I also read a lot of audiobooks, and I have a subscription for a platform called Storytel, which unfortunately is not available in the US, but it's sort of like Netflix, where you pay a monthly fee and you can listen to however amount of audiobooks you want during the month. You don't have like Audible where you have one credit, one book. You can listen to however amount you want. So I listen to a ton there. I read a lot from Kindle Unlimited. And then I read my Kindle books. And as I said, I buy them as I read them. So I buy maybe 2 or 3 books a month on Kindle. And then physical books, I buy them at usually I buy like maybe at the middle of the year, and maybe I do like an order at the middle of the year, and then an order maybe in the fall kind of, and then one in the holidays. But that's because okay, so you have to keep in mind that I'm from Mexico and I live in Mexico and my currency is Mexican pesos. And most of the books that I buy, as I said, are from the US, so they are in US dollars. So whenever I buy a book, I have to take into consideration the currency exchange, which is why I don't buy as many books. So I am not judging people that do buy tons of books. If I could, if I didn't have to keep in mind the currency exchange, I would probably buy many more books than I do. And I don't think people who buy tons of books every month have a book buying problem either. I think you can be a book reader and you can be a book collector, and they are two different things, and you can be both. And I think both are hobbies. And again, I'm not going to go deeply into the ethics of consumerism because it probably should be a thing to keep in mind. And as I said, maybe I'm not doing my human duty to the world, but I honestly don't judge people that buy tons of books. I just personally don't buy that many because of the currency exchange aspect. Question number 10 is to tag people, and I have seen other people do this tag. I'm not going to tag anyone. I don't usually do anyway. Do it if you haven't done it. And 11 just says, no, you are awesome just as you are. Being a book lover is amazing. Thank you for that. I love that final statement. And yeah, so that will be it for the tags. And thank you again, Susan, for tagging me. I will, of course, link her version and the original version by Enter the Book down in the description box. I will see you in another bookish video sometime in the future. In the meantime, I wish you happy reading.